welcome to this Hour Presence practice. And today we'll be, as usual, touching in on these three qualities of presence, three qualities of nature's flow. And then today we'll be going in a deeper dive in the second half of the practice into this infinite free flow, practically infinite free flow of nature, and more feeling that throughout the body, what we might begin to feel as, yes, our physical body, and more subtly, so that we have that feeling of being, really, that, we're not maybe so top heavy in our head, identity here, but identity can feel even more distributed throughout our whole subtle experience of presence, especially as we'll see to our fingers and to our toes. We'll be using the breath as a way to invite that feeling, open to that feeling of free flow that is right there in our physical body and so much more. And though that will be the adventure we'll embark on in the second half, just myself in sharing this practice and doing this practice and sharing what I find most helpful. It can be so tempting to always want to go into the new thing, to go into the deeper thing, to kind of stretch. And part of why I personally have committed to an hour of presence practice and repeating the foundations over and over and over again for the first 30 minutes, and even getting into like the rhythm and the routine of that, tapping into the three qualities where they're can be most evident. You're always welcome to find what's most evident for you in your own experience. That by doing that, that actually really sets the stage for an unfolding in the second half, where it's less of, well, let's just say it's just can be an unfolding off of that foundation. So let us begin. And welcome to close your eyes. And take a moment to land here and now. And come into feeling your own inner landscape at this moment. And noticing that there is this ebb and flow that is in our inner landscape that we call the breath. And beginning to feel into that experience, especially the releasing sense of the out-breath. As we let go of the air from inside us, perhaps even with a sigh, there's a invitation there to let go in other ways. And let's feel that first in our shoulders. Noticing the flow of the breath affecting our shoulders. And how on the out breath, we could allow our shoulders to lay down more fully, to settle and rest on the support of our torso beneath them. Let's do that for 3 out breaths. Noticing if at the end of the out breath, the shoulders can have let go and released a little bit more. And then as we feel the heaviness of our shoulders laying down, also feeling the heaviness of our arms, and even the heaviness and weight of our hands. And let the hands lay down that burden of their weight. Give it to our lap completely, so that the hands don't feel like they have to have any extra tension or holding. And using that out breath and the release of it to find those pockets of extra holding in our wrist, hands, and fingers, and let it go. And give our weight of our hands more fully to support. And then feeling right into that place where hand meets lap, that meeting place where weight meets support. And feeling into that place of interaction, contactfulness, mutual connection. And even the mutual give and take of forces. Notice what that felt sense is like with our hands relaxed and laying down to support. And then beginning to feel that as well. Now in our seat and the meeting place it makes with the ground. Right there, the ground is 100% holding us up. And so taking the next few out breaths and laying down into that support, lessening this sense of sitting by ourselves, and beginning to feel we are actually sitting together with the earth in this inseparable mutual interaction, seat and ground. Like the seamlessness of mountain and earth. We sit in earth's embrace, being drawn to the center of the earth and supported by the earth. And what would it be like to feel that all together in seat, hands, and shoulders, since it's happening everywhere in our body? Noticing the flavor of what this quality of presence, of mutual flow, is like in our physical experience. Right there, seat, hands, and shoulders. And what would it be like to continue to sit as a mountain and gently begin to open to the sensations of the breath coming in and out of the nose? And if you're familiar with this practice, you can go immediately into the alternate nostril noticing of the finest sensation of flow in the nose. So in a way, we're bringing in the incredible detail, the microscope of our awareness in its exquisite sensitivity. And just a reminder that it's already exquisitely sensitive, so can relax the forehead. Let the space between your eyes feel wide. And feel into the space inside your nose with that natural, exquisite openness, open to the experience there. The immediacy of sensations. And the inquiry, the open inquiry that we're in this part of the practice is, can I ever find the finest flow, the end, the limit of flow? Noticing how the mind might want to check the box. Yeah, I feel it. Done. Over. Got it. What's next? And the invitation is that what's next is we haven't got it. There's limitless flows within flows, ever finer in nature. And there's no end to how we can continue to open to that subtle, practically infinite, fine, free flow. The experience of the irresolvable infinite right at our nose. Are now beginning to follow the sensations of this air as it comes down inside us. That free flow is coming and filling inside us. And as we trace it downward on the in breath, it invites more of our awareness to come down into our body in that sense of expecting to find freedom, free flow. But then what about our clunky and just so concretely tangible and muscles and bones and all of this physicality that makes up our body? What about all of that? And so, as we usually do in this part of the practice, on the out breath, just noticing the wave like motion, the downward wave of the front body as the breath leaves the body. And tracing that downward wave down the chest, down the belly. And if we'd like, we could be in the same open-ended inquiry with that wave. Yes, it's mutually flowing, interconnected, like a water wave. And also like a water wave, is there any limit to these flows within flows, even in our front body? And to help us feel into this rather than think into it, going back to feeling that free flow of the air coming down inside us on the in-breath. And then noticing the wave of the front body, tracing it downward too. So we're inviting more of our awareness down into our body on the in-breath and on the out-breath, both tracing downward and both free flows. May even like to bring to mind the way a tuning fork will have all those waves along its solid body. And here we're just noticing the cascading wave of our front body. And now, if you'd like, can notice there's a wave down the sides of the ribs and down the side body as well. Perhaps even at the back, feeling the wave along the spine. The 3D-ness. All flow together. And now for our final interval here of this first half, we'll bring this sense of fine, mutual, contactful 3D flow into the fullness of our very sensitive fingers. And so beginning the finger by finger breath, elongating the thumbs slightly on the next out breath, feeling all the way to its tip. And then doing so for the pointer finger. Middle finger. Fourth finger all the way to its tip. And pinky finger And then continuing one breath and feeling those fingers on both hands, one at a time, going at your own pace. And let the sense of tracing the length of the finger on the out breath be where right at the end of the out breath, you're feeling the tip of the finger and even that finger touching the air, the space just beyond it. And then on the next time, you're beginning again with the thumb, just feeling that sense that it's not just long, it's got depth and width and volume, and it's full of presence. Continuing the practice finger by finger, or if you'd like, can feel almost like the breath is filling the volume of that finger right to the tip, right to the brim. Filling that finger full of presence. And then letting the finger by finger, breath by breath fade. Slightly spreading, ever so slightly spreading all the fingers. And letting yourself feel the space between all your fingers. Space in between. The absence of fingers. There's fingers. There's absence of fingers. Artists call this the negative space. Sometimes they actually use it to draw. So by feeling the space between the fingers, notice how that automatically highlights the presence of the fingers themselves all at once. All 10 fingers filled with the presence of beingness. And surrounded by space on all sides. And actually taking up space. Feeling the space that all your fingers take up in this one space that includes the space in between your fingers and in fact includes the space in the whole room, all just one whole space. Always this all at once unfolding that we may feel here in the all at onceness of our fingers. The integrity of no finger left behind, no one tiny part or particle of finger left behind or racing ahead of this unfolding together. Nothing missing. And as we begin to transition into a deeper dive into the feeling of subtle body, just noticing the weight of your hands on your lap, relaxing any extra tension that may have crept in, even as we were feeling other qualities of nature. And now letting the shoulders too relax and lay down. As what we'll find is that these qualities are not actually separate or distinct from each other. They fundamentally arise together, and in feeling one of them can help us feel the rest. So by feeling this mutualness at hands and shoulders, letting the arms feel heavy, letting tension melt out of them, while also having some of this feeling of from fingers to shoulders, all one length. All 10 fingers and shoulders and everything in between, all unfolding together. And invite you into an exploration of what might we feel if we felt the movement of breathing along our arms. May notice, can I feel the movement of breathing in my shoulders? without changing the movement of breathing. And I feel that subtle movement, including some very subtle movement at the elbows. Perhaps you're not even sure, do I feel something or not? And it doesn't really matter. It's this opening to subtle movement in the body. And what about the back of my hands? If I had to guess whether I was on an in-breath or an out-breath, just from the sensations at the back of my hands, what would my guess be? And of course, you can cheat for this, but it's about the inquiry, the opening. The interest that we can bring to physical body, physical movement that is so subtle. It begins to not feel like maybe our typical associations of what body feels like, usually. And what if this subtle sense of flow and movement along the length of our arms helped us feel the entirety of our arms, the entire volume of our arms from the 10 fingers all the way to the shoulders, as filled with free flow, that can express mutual waves of interaction just from the subtle movement of the breath. And gently letting that exploration go, knowing that it may have been something that felt a little bit like, what am I supposed to feel here? And that's okay. And inviting us now to gently transition to lying down position, as we'll begin to bring in not only our arms and our fingers, but our feet and our toes, and even the entire length of our body into a feeling of the subtlety of body, full of the free flow of presence. And so finding what is comfortable for you here and lying down. Some recommendations can be to put a bolster underneath your knees, Spread the feet slightly apart, the arms a bit apart from the sides. And beginning to feel our inner landscape here while we're lying down. Our horizontal landscape now. And how the flow of the breath flows in this horizontal landscape now. And how we can even more fully lay down to the support of the earth. Head, shoulders, arms, hips to heels. Maybe using just a few out breaths to release some pockets of holding and tension. Because that's one of the ways that we kind of self-confirm a sense, an illusion that the body has a limit to its free flow. We tense up and block the expression of these fine, subtle flows in our body. Just laying down the burden of our weight, knowing that the earth is right there to hold us up. Especially any pockets of tension in the shoulders, along the arms, the hips, and along the legs. And now beginning to notice and trace the wave-like motion of the front body as we breathe. And even though this movement is a bit larger, a sense of opening to it with the same feeling of openness, open to unknown in a way, that we may have experienced in feeling our arms. When we think, oh yeah, I got it, I'm feeling the wave of the breath in the front body. Letting that go as a thought and opening further towards the limitless experience of this flow of nature that we are. Now feeling the sides of the body, the ribs, the wave-like motion. It's just part of the movement of the breath. And what might it be like to feel the front body and the sides all together, waving and unfolding all together in their fine free flow. And noticing how the back body is moving, which may include shifts and sensations of pressure. And what would it be like to feel the back body, the front body, and the side of our body as all part of this wave of the breath in 3 dimensions? Perhaps noticing that a feeling of free flow and a feeling of space and a feeling of togetherness can all arise together. And now we'll repeat the finger by finger breath. This time, allowing ourselves to trace on the out breath not just the length of the finger, but the length of the entire arm all the way down to that finger. So on the next out breath, covering that length in space from shoulder all the way down to the tip of your thumbs. And then repeating that entire arm trace all the way to the pointer finger. Doing that downward trace of the arms on each out breath for each finger. And continuing on your own pacing. At the end of each out breath, still feeling right to the very tip of that finger full of presence. and connected in this trace all the way to the shoulder. And then gradually letting that downward trace finger by finger fade. And if one would like, can imagine a sense of breathing in and out, almost as if the breath itself is coming in and out of all 10 fingers. It's not, the flow of air is not going there, but the free flow of our fingers and the free flow of air are the same. So just seeing what it's like to feel as though one is breathing in and out through these so sensitive fingers, right at the fingertips. And sometimes it can feel like our fingers explode with their sensitivity, so vibrant, full of subtlety, richness of experience, aliveness, presence. Just inviting that experience to be throughout the entire arm, since fingers and rest of arm share the same quality of presence. What would it feel like if the entirety of our arm felt as fully vibrant, subtle, and sensitive as our fingers? And just seeing if there's attunement to the subtle movements that do happen along the arm simply from the movement of our breathing. Right there in that midst of that fullness of presence in our arms. Fullness from fingertips to shoulders with no part missing. And just like we have done with fingers and arms, when we allow ourselves to feel the subtle body in one place and know that other places in our body are not fundamentally different. No place in our body is deficient in presence. Then we can invite that same feeling, that common feeling, into the rest of our body. So, what would it be like? Our toes and our feet and our legs are not fundamentally different from our arms. What would it be like to imagine experiencing our toes and our feet and the 3D volume of our legs to our hips as full of presence, just like our fingers, our hands, and our arms? And to help with this, may like to feel as though you're breathing through your 10 fingers and your 10 toes, breathing in and out of all your digits all at once. And then letting that sense of whatever we're feeling in our toes to also spread into our feet, our lower legs, the entire volume of our lower body from the hips down. As we also feel our arms from shoulders to fingertips, all full of presence. As we also feel the 3D wave of our torso breathing. That no part of our body is untouched by the subtle movement of breathing. And we may not be so used to experiencing our body with this subtlety. And seeing if we can relax into it. Savor whatever it is that we're feeling. as simply an expression of how we too are a free flow of nature, that we're always a free flow of nature. And this completes an hour of presence. And having given an hour to this practice of appreciating and noticing, feeling into these qualities of nature's flow, an invitation here to take the next 3 minutes to neither practice nor not practice, to neither do something nor not do something, just to lie here. And feel free to stay as long as you would like, or can gently begin to transition however feels good for you Maybe starting with fingers and toes, hands and feet, arms and legs, all free flow, always free flow. And thank you for adventuring together with all of us here today in this hour presence and this adventure into the free flow quality, especially the way to feel the subtlety of presence in our body. Thank you.